Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now that we have this super high-end gaming PC all booted up and ready to go, let's dive into some benchmarks real quick. Notice I tested this PC in a couple of titles at 4K, those being Halo Infinite, Apex Legends, Warzone, and Borderlands 3. First up in Halo Infinite on high settings at 4K, we average about 70 to 80 FPS. The main reason we tested all the games at 4K is because we really wanted to push the system to its absolute limits, and a lot of people are really diving into 4K gaming now with the rise of 4K gaming on the next-gen consoles. So getting over 60 FPS at 4K is a very impressive feat in newer titles like this, so we just wanted to see what the absolute limit was for this configuration. Now, when you are playing at 4K, you're not necessarily stressing the 12900K a lot, but it is a good thing to have still because you can upgrade that GPU in the future and have no bottlenecking whatsoever. That 12900K is a staple for a lot of upgrades to make your PC last a very long time. Next up, in Apex Legends on max settings at 4K, we averaged 110 plus FPS. Apex Legends is not a game you necessarily normally play at 4K unless you happen to have a 4K 144Hz monitor, and if you do, if you're one of the lucky few, then you most certainly will get a great gaming experience. It will look super sharp and also super smooth, and you can play all the esports titles at 4K 144Hz, like Fortnite, Apex Legends like we're testing here, CSGO, Valorant. All those games will have no problems getting 100 plus FPS at 4K if that's the desired resolution you choose to play at. But of course, we here personally love to run 1440p or ultra wide high refresh rate to get well above that 200 plus FPS mark and get really good quality performance in any game you throw at it. But that's all up to personal preference, and if you want to buy some specific monitors, definitely check out some videos on our channel where we do some monitor roundups because, yeah, it gives you a good idea of what will work very well for this gaming PC. Next up in Warzone on the new Vanguard map at 4K medium settings, we average about 120 FPS. We went medium settings because I was expecting this new map to be very demanding, but it really wasn't that bad, so you could up the settings to high if you want to and still maintain a probably 90 plus FPS experience at 4K. Warzone is definitely a game a lot of people want to play at 4K because they see the next-gen consoles playing at 4K and they want their gaming PC to do the same. That's not entirely the same thing. There is a lot of upscaling happening with those consoles, but it does set a precedent that you should be able to game in 4K on a gaming PC versus your console. So stay tuned for that. We're doing a video on consoles versus PCs in 2021 going into 2022. But yeah, long story short, Warzone, very playable. And last but certainly not least is Borderlands 3 at 4K on high setting using the built-in benchmark. We average 71 FPS. In recap, this is a very awesome PC for the money, super high-end, super high-performing. That ASRock Z690 Phantom Gaming Velocita motherboard worked very, very well with that i9-12900K. No problems running the RAM overclocks, and it was easily able to allow that 12900K to boost all the way up to about 5 gigahertz. No problems whatsoever, and overclocking is an option if you're somebody who likes to tinker with that sort of thing. You can definitely do that with that ASRock Z690 Phantom Gaming Velocita motherboard. So be sure to check the link down below for all the PC parts from today's video, along with that motherboard. Special thanks again to ASRock for sponsoring this video. Now, let's bring Jackson back in here to wrap this video up real quick.